Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live session of BDH Properties, where I'm going to be speaking to Jacob Yeoman of Yeoman's Capital about how he goes and finds below market value properties. So it's going to be good speaking to him. Yeoman's Capital is live now, so let's send him a invite. Jacob,
Hello. You
how
are,
are you?
mate? I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. All is well. I love the hat.
Yeah, I know we've been in lockdown for a while now, so I've not been able to go to a hairdresser's. So
How's things?
yeah, they're good. They're good for saying that we're in lockdown and everything. They're not too bad.
So you've not started working yet?
Went back to work about a couple of weeks ago now. Yeah, a couple
Okay,
of weeks ago now. So yeah, that's fun.
good stuff. Good stuff. So we're here today. You specialize in buying below market value properties for yourself, for your investors, clients, and a lot of people these days want to know about how can someone go out and buy a below market value property, especially during these times where cash is king.
Yeah,
People can buy a property and hold it. They're kings, you know, and there are buyers out there who are looking to capitalize on vendors' losses, make great
yeah,
profits. I know it's not something that you want to do as a human being. You don't want to make someone else's loss your profit, but that's how business is. Someone else's loss is your profit, right? So, how do you go out and buy below market value properties is what we are going to discuss today. So, before we start, Jacob, if you can give a background on who you are, what you do, and then we can take it forward from there.
yeah. So my name is Jacob Yeomans. I'm a property investor, and my company basically helps people invest their money passively into property. Um, and a little bit of a background me. I'm currently an engineer,
Okay.
doing that full time. Um, just purchased my first property a few months back. Um, and yeah, just trying to keep hustling, just keep trying to
So
yeah, get
you're a fully qualified civil engineer. Is that what it is?
it's a mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineering. So, just taking you back a few years when you were at school, college, university, did you always think that engineering is what you wanted to get into, or property is what you wanted to get into? What was your aspiration to be when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at school, I didn't want to have anything to do with business. I didn't know anything about it. I was literally just, I knew I wanted to get a job because I wasn't keen on education. I wasn't a massive fan of school.
Okay.
Um, I thought I didn't like learning until I started getting into property. But I knew that kind of engineering was a safe option, and there'd always be a job there for me. So that's why I went down that route, and it pays okay as well.
Okay.
Um, and then I almost stumbled across property because the way that it happened with me was I used I like going on holiday, so I love going on to like these nice places, and I've been to some nice places like America and Dubai and places like that, and like that's such a high for me when I go to them types of places, and then when you go back to work, going from that high, it's like a bit of a
You don't
it
want to
doesn't
come.
feel yeah, exactly. It made me know that I didn't want to do that, but I didn't think there was any way for me to get out of that.
Quick,
Um,
mention that education wasn't the right thing that you wanted to possibly get into to get that job or to get where you are today. How hard was it for you to go through that whole degree at university studying engineering? Bearing in mind your thoughts were, okay, I'm going to get educate myself, and the first thing I'm going to do is get a job. So
yeah.
take out those 4 years at 3 years at university to become a graduate.
Well, I went through an apprenticeship scheme, so I literally went straight from school into an apprenticeship,
Okay.
um, and it was it was okay. I mean, I knew that I needed to do it because I wanted to be fully qualified, and I knew that in a way I needed to do it. So that was a bit of motivation for me.
Okay.
Um, but I
So
knew
coming from that thought process that education wasn't right to then educating yourself to become an engineer, do you think that education is key for these kind of careers?
I believe so. I do believe so. I mean, in terms of anything really, you need to like I'm a fond believer of education, and even in regards to the property investing, like I don't know everything, and I'm still educating myself every day. But it's like a desire to want to keep on educating and keep on bettering yourself, really. And at school you're forced to learn the stuff that you want to learn, and it didn't seem like fun to me because the topics weren't fun, other than like maybe PE or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but and then when I went to kind of do the educational side of things for my workplace, I felt like I needed to do that because I needed to get this job, or I needed to be fully qualified to do my job. Um, so that was kind of the motivation there. And now the motivation for me to do this side of the educational side of property is more just because I know this is what I want to do. I know I'm doing the right thing, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, and that's the main thing, really. I think you
Have
need to
you
enjoy what you do.
gone through any courses of properties that you've taken, like to enhance yourself into getting the right deals, or what to do, how to study the market, and then go for the right property? I mean, are you doing any courses right now, or have you done them?
Yeah, so I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, obviously all the free stuff, and there is a lot of good content out there. I will never knock that if you're because that's how I started. I started watching YouTube videos and just educating myself. Um, once I kind of
And anyone in particular that you would like to mention? I mean, whose YouTube videos were you watching and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the first video that comes to mind was I was watching Samuel Leeds. He's quite a big deal in property investing. I'm sure a lot of people mention him. Um, yeah, yeah, he's I watched quite a bit of his like educational side of things.
But did you go to
Um,
his course? Did you go to his live course? Or
no,
not?
no, I mean, I never went to his course. I've never been to his course or anything like that. But um, just the free stuff that I got on YouTube. There's other videos as well, but I can't remember the people's names and stuff. Like I watched Grant Cardone. It's a little bit different. The property in the real estate market in America is a little bit different.
Yeah,
But I watched him more for like the business side, just the way that he thinks and things like that. I think he's really smart in the way that he thinks. Yeah.
yeah.
Gary V was another one. Just business kind of minded people. Um, and once I kind of done that kind of education for myself, I knew that I needed to step it up because I wanted to make this my full-time job. I didn't want to make this just kind of like a hobby of just, you see a lot of people who invest in properties that just kind of buy any house for any price, just chuck money at it, and then just they call it an investment property. And I feel like, yeah, fair enough, that might be a good approach, but there's a lot more thinking behind it to get you the best returns for your money. Um, so after that, I went through a property mentorship for 4 months with a individual
And
lady. We had a one
pay something for this property mentorship?
Yeah, I paid £4,000 for my property mentorship. I paid £4,000, which to me was a lot of money because it was it was pretty much most of my savings that I had had.
How do you compare the videos that you did on YouTube? Sorry, the videos that you saw on YouTube, the motivational videos, the property course videos, all that kind of stuff, to now property mentoring yourself. How did you compare that? Did that YouTube video sort of give you a bit of a knowledge that what you're going in for, and then the property mentorship sort of, like modified it into you and gave you that plunge that you wanted into the deep water kind of thing? Was that the case?
I think you're right. I mean, a big thing with me was, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people, because I did watch a lot of videos and I was doing a lot of research and stuff, but the taking action side of thing was a big thing for me. So because I didn't know where to start, quite simply. I'd done all of this research, and I thought that I'd really educate myself, but the
what was your what was holding you back that you had to go for the property mentorship rather than seeing those videos and jumping into it?
Yeah, I think it's more of the fear side of things. I think, you kind of, I was getting in my head a little bit, and I'm the type of person where I need to be certain on something before I jump into it. I mean, I was certain that I wanted to do property. I knew I wanted to do it, which is why I did the mentorship. But the kind of
So mentorship was a stranger to you, or no, this is someone that you knew and you followed them, or you've spoken to them before?
This was a complete stranger. I got recommended by a friend
So it was
to this mentor.
you went
Yeah,
to a recommendation. So
it
that's
was
yeah,
yeah,
go.
it was recommended. It was recommended, but they had only met her briefly. They didn't know anything about kind of what she could do or anything like that. It was just they met at a business event. She said what she did, but they didn't really talk in depth about it. So I didn't really know exactly what I was getting into.
And when she
But
told
it
you
was
£1,000, didn't you think that, why is she charging me £4,000 for it?
to be honest with you, I didn't even flinch. I knew I wanted to get into property seriously. I knew that I wanted to get into a mentorship. Um, so when I kind of spoke to her and I found out like her ethics were right. She spoke to me about the type of things that would. It was more, it's more of kind of the education was there. It was just kind of implementing it and taking the action, which was one thing that I was kind of struggling with.
Mentor is recommended by yourself when you're doing these kind of things, that you need that extra push. Okay, you have your family, you have your friends, you have your relatives, but no one can push you like a stranger would. Is that
Mm. I think for me, it's that kind of it depends on which way inclined you are. I mean, the way that I kind of would give someone advice now to how I was a few months back would be to take action. Stop getting caught up in the numbers, which is what I was doing. I was almost making excuses of how not to start because I had this knowledge, but that doubt was stopping me. Um, but like I said at the beginning, the education side of things for me is a massive thing. And the mentorship that I went through, the lady that I had a mentorship with, she was very educated. She was a seasoned investor. Um, it was the best way I could put it is she was in a position where I want to be in the future. So her time is more valuable for me. And it worked out. I mean, I bought my first house without using any of my own money. So it was the value that I got from that and that kind of like that reassurance that I'm doing it right.
how long did it take you from the education of property investing to the mentorship? How long did it take you to get there?
So I was started doing the education at the start of August last year. Um, what'd you say? Sorry.
19, right?
Yeah, 2019 last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started my mentorship at the end of October. Um,
Okay. About 2.5 months kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. A big thing for me was at that point in the education, I watched all the videos. I was rewatching the videos over and over, and it was just becoming pointless and almost frustrating for me. So I knew that I need to start taking action, and I knew that they were my next steps. I suppose everyone's got their own opinion on it, but from my point of view, I believe that having that person who's in a position where you want to be, that your ethics align properly. They're going to give you the time of day. They're going to be there to reassure you to make sure that essentially, because it is a big thing, investing it is a big thing. You can if you invest in a wrong area.
You're putting down 50,000, 100,000, £1 million
Exactly,
property.
exactly,
Don't know what's going to come out of it. You strip that wall and the wiring could be dead, all that kind of stuff.
exactly.
So from worship to then going out and saying, yeah, I'm now ready to buy my first property. How long did it take you to make that decision?
Um, to be honest, it took me a couple of weeks to start, because when I started my mentorship, it was all hands on deck. It was going out viewing properties. It was basically living the life and almost pretending like I was a property investor at the time. Like at that point when I was in that mentorship, I believed I was a property investor. I didn't have a house then, but I had that inner belief, and it almost gave me that confidence to get, get going, get viewing properties, get talking to people, having phone calls with people that I'd never would have spoke to before. It really gave me that push to start looking at properties and trying to get my first property.
And was it just property related, or you could speak to them about any of the struggles that you're going through or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things I always remember it when we went through our conversations was it was where I was mentally, and I think that's a massive thing as well. Your headspace, a lot of people, if you're the way inclined where you can't deal with, for example, the debt you don't like, and if you don't like debt, then this is the wrong thing for you because you want to leverage your money, you want to leverage yourself better, and for me, I've always been a confident person, but at the same time, when making big decisions, especially if I'm, starting out with no money, using other people's money to help them achieve a passive income, it's a big thing. And
Yep.
and having that person to kind of help me, it it helped. It did help.
How much research work did you put in before you bought your first property?
So when people
And
see,
I'll on for you as well. Being a mechanical engineer, obviously maths, calculations, all that kind of stuff is in your head constantly, right? So this must have been a big stepping stone for you, that you had to go out and buy your first property, but your calculations should have to be right too. So
yeah.
when did that mechanical engineering degree help you in making those decisions?
Um, well, you believe it or not, I'm actually awful at maths. I'm not the best at maths.
You're the
I'm
first in
okay.
this.
Yeah, I'm I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not great. As long as I've got a calculator there to help me, I'm not too bad. Um, but no, it's completely different to kind of what I was doing before. But what you say about the numbers side of things, that's a real big thing, and this comes in with the education. Um, just what I found myself doing was I was um getting loads of sheets of paper down and just writing out deals, just writing them out, just so when it
And
comes and
where were you searching for these deals? What, on property portals like Rightmove, Zoopla, or LinkedIn, Instagram, or you went out for a walk and you sort of networked with people, or just looking at a property and you thought that, okay, that's derelict and I think I can get that. What methods did you use to get that property and do the numbers on that property?
so before you even pick a property, you need to find an area. So you need to do your due diligence on an area. And that was the first thing that I was doing. I was making sure that the area that I was picking was, you'd get the demand there, you'd have the rent, the rental income was good, the house prices
What
weren't.
basis of you picking the right area? What, in your eyes, what's the right area?
Um, well, I think the thing with the thing with you have nice areas and then you have right areas. A lot of people think they can just buy a really nice brand new house and it's a really good investment because it's shiny, brand new, this that, and the other. But essentially, you will be overpaying for that property. The type of properties that you want to be looking for ones, or the type of properties that I was looking for, were properties that were, you know, that needed a bit of loving, a bit run down. They could have, but at the same time, the demand was still there. So letting agents are a massive help to me. I rang several letting it.
Growth, or you looked at something like schools or a family orientated community,
Yeah,
gate community? I mean, what sort of properties did you research
yeah,
on?
yeah. I mean, in because I invested in where I live, and that's Derby. And in Derby, we've got a lot of industries, a lot of, you've got Rolls Royce, you've got Bombardier, you've got Toyota, places like that. And I picked an area which was nearby the centre, nearby train stations, the schools nearby. You've got your workplaces like Rolls Royce, Bombardier. Um, there's a lot of places within that area so you're always going to have that demand for them
So
properties.
recommend to always buy a property close to a city center with all these industries around. So there's a lot of commercial workmanship demand, and a lot of people who are coming to work there will reside around those properties. Is that what you would recommend?
That's my from my experience. I mean, if you're going in towards like service accommodations, maybe you could go towards like out towards the outskirts where people aren't. So you could charge on a weekly basis. That's a different approach. But in terms of like your buy-to-lets and HMOs, you need to be kind of picking an area where there's going to be people. There's going to be you're in the center. There's a lot of activity going off around. But at the same time, one thing that I was a big thing for me was getting speaking to letting agents and getting the advice of what type of tenants you'd be getting in them areas, because it's all right saying that you pick an area in the center, but it might be the worst center in the entire planet, and you're going to buy the worst house. So you're going to be getting nightmare tenants essentially. And I know you can't obviously pick, the best tenants always. You are going to get bad tenants, but
Yeah.
at the same time, taking the advice before you purchase a property, I think that's a massive help.
Now, when you went to buy your first property, which you did, when did you buy your first property?
So it got accepted in December, middle of December, and it got completed at the start of March.
Okay, so it took you this long to complete that on that property. Was there a complication? Why did it take you so long to? And before we get there, you mentioned that you specialize in buying below market value properties. How much was this property for that you went out and bought, and what were the characteristics of it? Was it a two bed, three bed
Yeah,
house?
it was a two-bed terraced house. Um, it was on the market for 95, and I did my due diligence, and that was the actual based off comparables. That was the actual like price of the property. Um, and I managed to get it for 80,000, so 15,000 below market value.
Okay.
And that's another thing which is so essential.
Accepted at 80,000. Did you go in straight with the offer at 80, or you went in
No,
70 or 65, something like that?
yeah, I mean, I can't exactly remember my first offer because I was putting in offers on a lot of properties. But it was lower than that. It was much lower than that. I mean, I did start low. I did have a reasoning behind all of my offers. I wasn't just coming in at like 20,000 just because, I'll see if I can get it for that. It was,
Yeah.
um, it was educated, and there was reasoning behind it. And this is another thing with the education side of things. You've got to work out. I was working out my numbers, so I had my max of what I would go up to, which would make a deal. Anything above my max, I would cut it off and go look for other properties, because I think working out the numbers side of things, and again, this is a lot of what a lot of people who don't invest in properties don't do, and that they just buy any random house. If you don't work out them numbers, you could, like you said at the start, you could become
Use
unstuck.
the tool or something, or it was just the calculator, you put your numbers in, it gave you the answer?
So during my mentorship, part of it was to work out what would make a deal. And this is another thing, like I wouldn't have been able to figure that out on my own, because all the YouTube videos didn't talk about this. Um, and that helped me work out the deal. And this is what I meant when I was saying about putting pieces of paper down and just writing out deals, just writing out the purchase price, how much I'd be returning, and working out my exit strategies as well, which is another big thing. If everything does go wrong, making sure that I can get out of that deal and still be making a profit.
I mean, with
And
a lot of things, I don't know if you agree, but a lot of things with property can go wrong, and only a few things can go right.
yeah,
you know
yeah.
but got to capitalize on those few things that go right. So you mentioned that you bought the property for £15,000 below market value. Did you do it up? Did you have to do it up? And how much did you spend on that to get the right return for what you wanted? Was it a buy to let or was it a flip deal? I mean, what did you do with it after?
So first of all, it was for a buy to let. So it was aiming to rent it out. And
What sort of
um,
did you want to generate on that buy to let?
what kind of what? Sorry.
What sort of rent return did you want to generate on that buy to let? You must have had a yield in mind, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to push it up. Obviously, the point of investing and below market value is to make you make money on purchase. That was obviously a main thing. You don't make money when you sell. You make money when you buy. So I'd already made money there, and
I
the
think
whole aim.
quotes of those training courses. I've heard this
Yeah,
before.
yeah. This isn't a sales pitch, promise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was aiming to push the property up as high as I could, and the type of areas that I was looking for mainly in the refurb. And before I obviously say that, I budgeted a £3,000 refurb because the property wasn't too bad, and fortunately for me, I've got a few mates that are builders and handymen. So also for me, that was a handy thing because it saved me some money there when I was
So
doing the
did you
property
go
up.
out and different people for different jobs within that property?
Yeah, I mean, in
And
terms
now
of what I,
different people are partly forming your team that you would use at your next project as well.
yeah, definitely, definitely. It's all about building the relationships up. I mean, um, for me, obviously, in property, you talk about power team, and you have your essential people, your core people, like your accountant, broker, solicitor, etc. And then once you kind of get to a point where you bought your house, your power team expands in terms of like your builders, your electricians, plumbers, all of these different handymen that can help you really that you can't do on your own.
Yeah.
So it was important to me to build up them relationships, talk to them, and the friendships were already there because a lot of them I knew. My dad knew a lot of people as well, which helped me out. But just before, obviously, we talk about doing the property up. When I bought the property, 2 days after, we went into lockdown. So all of these people, well, a lot of the people weren't able to get out to the property. So I was having to do a lot of the work myself in terms of, painting the walls and removing all of the crap that's been left in the house, but from before and stuff like that.
And do you
Um,
think that taught
but
you a good lesson in terms of what property requirements are when it comes to refurbishing the properties to the right standards so you get the right tenants in? I mean, is the property ready now? Is it ready to be tenanted?
it's not even ready yet. It's almost done. I just need to do the last touches in the kitchen, um, and then pretty much the property will be ready to go. Put a bit of flooring down, and then it's
Quick
ready to
question.
go.
You mentioned that it was below market value by £15,000. Did you check a valuation report on the property or something like that, or did you get your surveyor in there or a valuator to go and value the property, and then you saw that yes, it is actually at market value of 95,000, and that's how you got it below market value, or you didn't go for the market valuation and you just put in an offer at 80,000, thinking that yep, I've saved 50,000, that's below market value.
Yeah.
So
So what I used was a website called Mouse Price, um, which is which is a really good website to
do
kind
you
of get value.
think their valuations?
I believe so. I believe so. As well as that, you can obviously get comparables on another site. Like you could go onto Rightmove and look on there. And this is another thing. One of my mates is a estate agent, and he has Rightmove Plus.
Okay.
So that was handy for me to kind of make sure that what I was getting it for that much lower than market value.
Do you think getting a valuation consultant or a surveyor to go and do that valuation is better, or to do the valuation yourself on Zoopla, Rightmove, Mouse Price is better?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, to be honest, I didn't get a value in, but that doesn't mean that I don't
But
think
then
it's better
you
over.
still saved yourself £15,000 on that property,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Without you valuation agent to do the valuation on that property. The only thing that you didn't have was a valuation report stating that yes, that property on the market is at a market value of 95,000. That's all. But you went with your own gut instinct and
Yeah.
said, okay, this is the report that is being given by these top websites who have the information through land registry, through the sales of the properties, through the properties that are on the market, and you made your own decision that, yep, this is what I'm getting and this is where I'm making a deal. So I think it just depends from deal on deal, right? That whether you would
Yeah.
go out and get a valuation report, or you would just go on the desktop, put it in the address, and see what the comparables are. So I think it's a good way. I mean, especially in today's digital world, where a lot of valuation agents and surveyors can't go in or won't go in. It's good to go out and search your properties or search the valuations and search these records on websites like Rightmove and Mouseprice and so forth. Um, Quick question about the yield that you are looking to generate on this property. What's the going rate in Derby, for example? What sort of rental yields are you looking at? 6%, 7%, 8%, 10%?
In my area, it is 6% yield.
Net?
Um, yes, yeah,
That's
yeah,
not bad. Good.
yeah. It's all right. I mean, to
You
be
think
honest,
you
like
think you could have done better if you got a slightly more uh, discount on the property?
definitely. I mean, I wouldn't obviously the way that I look at it is, I definitely in the future will be looking to improve. This is my first property, and like I say at the beginning, I don't know everything. I'm still very early on in my property investing career, and I'll pick up a few things, and I've learned a lot from going through this process. But the main thing for me was taking the action, and I took the action, and
It's
now
a big,
because of it,
yeah.
it is a very big thing. It's a very big thing, and I've got it below market value, and it's not the best deal in the world. I know it isn't the best deal in the world, but if I did get the best deal in the world, I'd probably think, oh yeah, I've done it now, and
And
whatever.
are you also currently working with investors where you're getting on JV partners and all that kind of stuff to fund your projects? Is that what the next step would be in terms of doing your next property project?
A lot of it at the minute is networking, speaking to people, just seeing where people's heads are at, seeing if they're interested in investing, because it is a great thing, and especially with the current state of what the banks are in, it's the best time to be putting your money into bricks and mortar.
Point about the bank. You mentioned at the start of the conversation that how to get into property without using your own money. How much of your own money did you use purchasing this property for £80,000?
I used £2,400 of my own money, and that was for the stamp duty.
The whole property was funded by the bank.
It wasn't funded by the bank; it was funded by an investor.
Okay, so you got a investor partner to fund the
Yeah,
whole deal. You paid the
yeah,
stamp duty. The refurbishment cost was his as well.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so he funded the whole thing for you. And what sort of returns do you give these JV partners that come on board with you?
I think it varies. It varies from obviously investment types. It varies on the times of when you are going to be investing.
Okay with
Um,
doing the buy to let and holding the property for such a long time? They're okay with that?
yeah, I mean, the important thing for me is it isn't just kind of, oh, do you want to invest? Okay, give me X amount, and then you are going to invest. A big thing with me is to build up the relationship there first. Make sure that they know what they're getting into. Make sure they know what property investing is like, because property investing, it's tough. It's not quick to get your money out when you need to get money out. It's very, that's probably one of the downsides of property. It's one of them where you can't just quickly pull out 20 grand.
Right buyer for your property, right? The buyer would pay the price that you want.
Yeah.
Uh, so when is the next project, or when are you going out and buying your next property?
I'm always looking.
Are you,
I'm,
so you're so you're active in the market, so you are looking for deals. And are you planning to branch out of Derby and move to possibly Birmingham or closer to London like that?
yeah, definitely. I mean, at the minute, it's convenient for me around my full-time job to be investing in Derby. You're not finishing work and then having to drive 50 miles or whatever to go and view a house.
And do you
It's just really good.
property your full-time job and quit mechanical engineering one day?
That's the aim. That's the aim. I believe so. Eventually, I believe so. I'm determined to. I'm determined to. But yeah, it's a project. It's a project at the minute.
And I wish you all the best for that. Jacob, before we wrap up this conversation, what advice would you like to give? I do this with everyone. I have the whole conversation, and in the end, I want something positive, right? Something positive from my guest to give out to the world, the people who are into negative thoughts right now. Oh, property is going down. I can't invest in property. I don't have the money. It'd be a property investor. It'd be a young university going student. What advice would you give them in life to take out all this negativity that they have in front of them and make something positive with their life? What would you tell them?
First of all, do what you want. A lot of people get caught up in other people's opinions. I've never been that type of person where, I've always removed myself from a situation in terms of if anything turns negative. It's okay to feel like you can't do something because we're all human and we feel like we can't at times. But a massive thing that I learned was to don't get caught up in the details. Obviously, the education side of things is a massive as well, but take action. If you believe in yourself, just go and do what you want. Don't listen to anybody else.
Absolutely. I think that's how it should be, right? When you think of something, go and do it. Take
Yeah,
that risk, plunge into it, and do it. Whatever you feel is right for you.
definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing your views and how can someone go about and buy a below market value property of, and what are the techniques that you use. It was great talking to you about these few things that you mentioned, and I'm sure I'll come back to you one day again where you are a property owner of, I don't know what, 50. What is the target? How many properties do you want to own in your life?
You see, I don't put a figure on it. It doesn't
How
mean I'm
many
aiming small.
how much would property how many properties would you be comfortable with?
I don't even look at the figures. I don't look at the numbers of how many properties for me. It's
So it's infinite. The number
it
is
is for
infinite.
me. Definitely, for me. In terms of investing, I just want to better myself. I want to better my family's lives as well. This isn't just kind of like a selfish point of view. I want to everybody to benefit from me doing this, and to
Absolutely.
start from no, to start from nothing. I'm just gonna keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me, Jacob. It's been a pleasure to have you on board and speaking about properties and life and career. So thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye. So, guys, that was Jacob Yeoman of Yeoman's Capital. Do go and check him out and how he goes out and buys below market value properties. It was good chatting to him about it, the techniques that he uses, the valuation side of tools that he uses. I mean, I also do check out mouse price when it comes to me going and evaluating properties. It's not that I want to give that figure to the owner, but I want to know that the figure that the owner wants or is looking for matches relatively close to the figure. Otherwise, I have to advise them that, look, the valuation that is online is not matching your expectations. So you need to come down or you need to go high, whatever. But that was great talking to Jacob about all of those things. Do go and check out the live if you want to know more about how to go out and purchase below market value properties. So thank you so much to Jacob and all the viewers that tuned in. I've got a 6 o'clock session with a gentleman all the way from UAE, a financial consultant. Do join in and see how he's one of the best in his industry. So thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.